Welcome. I'm Doug Morgan, and you're listening to Uncommon Sense, where we hunt for the truth in the topics you're not supposed to talk about, Christianity and politics. Barack Obama once famously said that elections have consequences. yeah, and what we're seeing that right now is to be true. In fact, we are just about to the time of Donald Trump's inauguration. At the time of this recording, I'm recording this on Sunday night, so it has not yet taken place. But we do want to take a look at what we're going to look forward to, right? And it's not just the inauguration, but it is that too, right? From a number of articles from the Daily Wire comes this first one, and it says, before thousands of his supporters at the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., President-elect Donald Trump promised on Sunday to act quickly to face every single crisis facing our country. Trump will be sworn into office at noon on Monday to begin his second term in a nation and a world facing numerous issues. Thousands of Trump's supporters traveled to Washington, D.C. over the weekend to celebrate the swearing in of the 47th president, and despite the inauguration ceremony being moved indoors over harsh weather conditions in the nation's capital, many Americans stayed to attend Trump's victory rally and hear the incoming president address the country. I know we have some friends who are there, and they are not going to get to go and see it in person because it did get moved indoors, but they did stay and they're taking part in the festivities. Here's a quote right here. It says, "Our new administration will inherit disasters at home and abroad, an economy plagued by inflation and high interest rates, a catastrophic border crisis nobody can believe, a planet on the brink of World War III. It's not going to happen," Trump said, "but starting tomorrow, I will act with historic speed and strength and fix every single crisis facing our country. We have to do it," unquote. Well, Trump told his supporters to expect lots of executive orders issued immediately, especially targeting illegal immigration after he takes office on Monday. Quote, "You're going to see executive orders that are going to make you very happy. Lots of them," he said. "We have to set our country on the proper course. By the time the sun sets tomorrow evening, the invasion of our borders will have come to a halt, and all the illegal border trespassers will, in some form or another, be on their way back home." In fact, I wanted to play a couple of clips here for you of what he said at his pre-inaugural address.
"The time the sun sets tomorrow evening, the invasion of our borders will have come to a halt, and all the illegal border trespassers will in some form or another be on their way back home."
The president-elect also touted achievements being made in the country and across the world before he even stepped foot in the Oval Office. Quote, "Before even taking office, you are already seeing results that nobody expected to see. Everyone is calling it, I don't want to say this, it's too braggadocious, but we'll say it anyway, the Trump effect. It's you. You're the effect." Trump told the crowd of his supporters that since the election, the stock market has surged, small business optimism has soared, Bitcoin has shattered one record high after another, and here's what he said here.
"Before even taking office, you are already seeing results that nobody expected to see. Everyone is calling it I don't want to say this, it's too braggadocious, but we'll say it anyway, the Trump effect. It's you're the effect. Since the election, the stock market has surged and small business optimism has soared a record 41 points to a 39-year high. Bitcoin has shattered one record high after another. The major investment company known as DeMat Properties has announced that it will be investing between 20 and 40 billion dollars in the United States, and SoftBank, another great company, has pledged between 100 and 200 billion dollars. These are all investments that are only being made because of the fact that we won the election. Going to create jobs for hundreds of thousands, even millions of Americans. Today I spoke with Tim Cook of Apple. He said they're going to make a massive investment in the United States because of our big election win.
Trump also highlighted the ceasefire and hostage deal between Israel and Hamas that the Pentagon credited Trump with influencing. Quote, "This week, we achieved an epic ceasefire agreement as a first step toward lasting peace in the Middle East. And this agreement could only have happened as a result of our historic victory in November," Trump said. The president-elect also praised his cabinet nominees who are currently facing Senate confirmation and quipped that they won't be prepared for the level of success the Trump administration will have over the next 4 years. Quote, "People in our country want us to keep on winning, and we're going to go win like never, ever before," he said.
And we're going to win so much that Governor Burgum of the Interior, you know Governor Burgum, one of the best governors in the country, is in charge of Department of the Interior, and the hottest man anywhere in the world for energy. When I announced him, people couldn't believe it. You didn't hear of him, but if you're in the energy business, he's considered the absolute best. Mr. Chris Wright of the Energy Department. He's going to head up the Energy Department. He's the hottest guy, and there is anybody in the energy business. They said, "I can't believe you got Chris Wright." And a man named Marco Rubio is going to be our great future Secretary of State. And Howard Lutnick, a tremendous success on Wall Street, is going to be our Secretary of Commerce. They have to go through these drills, but they're going to. And I want to thank the Republican senators. They've been doing great. And John Thune has been doing a great job in moving the process along quickly. We're going to have a lot of them hopefully approved very quickly. And a very special woman, Linda McMahon, is going to be our future Secretary of Education, which we're going to be giving back to the states. Let the state run education. I said to Linda, Linda, I'm making you the Secretary of Education, but if you do a great job, you will put yourself out of a job because you're going to be sending it back to the states. And she's fantastic. And her staff, which has been largely hired, is fantastic. And all of the other leaders will come to me and they're going to say, "Do you remember I used to do this for fun?" But it's really not fun. It's fact. Because we have to do some of best of, right? But they're going to come and say to me, sir, we're winning too much, sir. We can't take it anymore. We have to stop winning, sir. We can't do it. We're not used to winning in our country. And each one of them is going to say, every single one, "Sir, please, please, you're destroying our country. We're winning too much. Our country isn't prepared for this. They're not used to winning, sir." And I'll say, no, Linda and everybody, we're not going to stop winning. The people of our country want us to keep on winning, and we're going to go win like never, ever before. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to be doing it, Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is having a heart attack down here. Look at him. Uncle Sam is going wild.
So as you can see, there's a lot of excitement about what is taking place here. And he's not resting back on his laurels. I mean, he has a lot of plans already lined up for day one. In fact, CNN reports that President-elect Donald Trump and his team have drafted a slate of pardons for people convicted for their role in the January 6th Capitol attack to be issued on day one, shortly after Trump is sworn in as president. This is what two sources familiar with the plans told CNN. Trump has repeatedly said that he planned to swiftly pardon people who were convicted for their role in January 6th of 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. During a December interview with Time magazine, Trump said, Quote, I'll be looking at J6 early on, maybe the first 9 minutes. the if you remember right, our current president, Joe Biden, he basically did away with the Keystone XL pipeline on like his first 9 minutes. This is going to be a little bit different than that. The extent of the initial pardons is still unclear, though. However, one of the sources described them as enough to be seen as delivering on his long-held promise. About 1,270 people have been convicted of January 6th related crimes, and the vast majority of those defendants pleaded guilty. Only a couple hundred are currently behind bars. I like how CNN puts only a couple hundred 4 years later, right? Vice President-elect J.D. Vance said in an interview last week that rioters accused of violence shouldn't be pardoned, while also arguing there was a bit of a gray area in some of these cases. Several Republican allies of Trump have said they expect him to approach the pardons on a case-by-case basis, but two key GOP lawmakers on Sunday refused to rule out Trump potentially issuing pardons for some of the roughly 174 defendants charged with using a deadly or dangerous weapon against police officers. House Speaker Mike Johnson on Sunday on Meet the Press said that Trump and Vance agree peaceful protesters should be pardoned, but violent criminals should not. Pressed by NBC's Kristen Welker, whom Trump told last month that he was looking at every January 6th case and not ruling anything out when it came to pardons, Johnson refused to say whether rioters accused of attacking police officers should be pardoned, responding, every case needs to be evaluated. And that's true, right? Quote, what President Trump is getting at is the lack of faith that people have right now in our system of justice. It was abused for the last few years until the last 4 years on the Biden administration. The Department of Justice itself was weaponized when people lose their faith in our system of justice, Johnson said. That is what leads to all these other concerns, and President Trump's going to restore that. We're going to restore that. We're going to have new leadership. Now, the federal government's efforts to prosecute January 6th rioters began in the immediate aftermath of the 2021 riot, after the Trump administration with Trump appointees at the helm of the Justice Department and the FBI. One day after the inauguration, Trump said to those who broke the law, you will pay, and later vowed that those who engaged in the attacks last week will be brought to justice. Well, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, who repeatedly pushed false, stolen election rhetoric in the lead up to January 6th. I love CNN, don't you? Who repeatedly pushed false, stolen election rhetoric in the lead up to January 6th and voted against certifying the 2020 election results, told CNN's Dana Bash, a wonderful person, by the way, on Sunday that he agrees with Vance that the cases of those accused of violence shouldn't be viewed the same as others who did not inflict the same kind of damage. But I think that that's where the American people are. I think that's where the president is, Jordan said on State of the Union, adding that Trump should go case by case through the rioters when Bush pressed him about those accused of violence. Jordan said that he believes those accused of violence acts against police officers at the Capitol maybe shouldn't be pardoned. Quote, it's a power solely with the president, case by case, person by person, and the president has completely authority to pardon who he wants to pardon. This is what Jordan said. And he said, but I think he's going to focus on all the people who didn't commit any violence. Asked again by Bash whether he believes it's okay for every one of the people accused of violence against police officers to be pardoned by the incoming president, Jordan responded, that's up to the president, which, of course, it is. Jordan added that Trump, along with his legal counsel and Justice Department advisors, would, quote, look at all the facts, but then we will make the decision. And that's how it works in America. It's a power that is exclusively with the President of the United States, unquote. Uh, and they said that nearly 1,600 people have been charged in connection with January 6th riot. Of course, it's actually a little more than that, including about 700 with serious felony offenses like assaulting police or using a weapon. Um, yeah, you'd like to see what these weapons, unquote, are, but about 80% of all cases have already resulted in guilty pleas or trial convictions, and a couple hundred defendants are currently in prison, according to the latest Justice Department estimates. Since the election victory in November, Trump has faced pressure from January 6 supporter groups and family members of convicted rioters to grant maximum clemency by pardoning everyone ever charged, including those convicted of assaulting police or seditious conspiracy. Seditious conspiracy. Wow. More targeted pardons for only nonviolent offenders, as signaled by Vance and the GOP lawmakers, could anger these groups that are part of the right-wing base and have staunchly stood by Trump over the past 4 years. They say more than 140 police officers were injured during the 7-hour siege. Yeah, 140 police officers injured. I wonder what your definition of injured is, which also led directly to, and indirectly, they said, to the deaths of 4 Trump supporters in the mob and 5 police officers. Of course, we know that's not true. There weren't any police officers killed during the riot. In fact, the only person killed during the riot was someone who was shot by Capitol Police, of course. It said the attack caused $2.8 million in damage to the Capitol building and grounds. And some rioters charged or convicted with the Capitol attack are returning to Washington, D.C. Trump's inauguration is where they're headed. And it says, but some federal judges also recently blocked a handful of other January 6 defendants from attending the inauguration, agreeing with the Justice Department prosecutors who argued that letting the rioters return to the scene of the crime could put police officers in danger. Yeah. Pardons don't erase a defendant's criminal record, they say, and they don't overturn a conviction. But a pardon forgives the officer the offense and restores the recipient's civil rights, such as gun ownership and voting rights. So that's what's happening with the possible pardoning of those that took part in the January 6th riot. But there's other things that are going to be happening as well, they say, on day one, and we'll be looking for that. In fact, again, several articles from the Daily Wire comes this. The President-elect Donald Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz, he previewed some of the executive orders that Trump is expected to sign shortly after being sworn in to office on Monday at noon. Walz made the remarks during a Sunday interview with Margaret Brennan on CBS News' Meet the Press when asked what Trump had planned. And this is what he said. He said, quote, we're going to have his campaign promises that he promised to the American people right out there on the table in terms of border, in terms of energy, in terms of taking on this kind of DEI, woke culture that has infected so many parts of our federal government, including our military, returning us to a meritocracy. And this, again, all good things from Walz here. He said, I can't emphasize enough, though, on the border, the American people gave him a clear mandate. Lock down our border. Deport the worst of the worst. Take on the cartels. And he continued by saying, we cannot have a situation where we have a paramilitary gangs that are shooting down aircraft and heavy weapons controlling 30% of our neighbor Mexico and controlling whole swaths of our border. He said that the Mexican drug cartels are paramilitary organizations with billions at their disposal, with armed vehicles, heavy machine guns that are fighting the Mexican army, not police, army, to a standstill. Wall said that Trump would focus on getting criminal and illegal aliens out of the country and returning them to their country of origin. So, like I say, there's a lot going on, and it looks all good. I mean, the things that we're hearing coming out of Washington D.C. right now is really good. And one of the biggest things I think that Trump erred on in his first term was that he wasn't able to go after the deep state, the bureaucracy that we see that has so much power in our federal government. And incoming Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said on Sunday that the Trump administration will remind bureaucrats that they work for the American people. Miller spoke at Trump's victory rally in Washington, D.C. on Sunday evening to a crowd of ecstatic Trump supporters who traveled to the nation's capital to celebrate the inauguration. To begin his speech, Miller looked ahead to the inauguration of Trump on Monday, saying, in just one more day, it is goodbye, Joe Biden, goodbye, Kamala Harris, goodbye, Democrats, and hello to the golden age of America, and welcome back, Donald J. Trump. It's been 4 long years. This is a quote. It felt like 400 years, he remarked. 4 years of weakness, 4 years of humiliation and embarrassment, 4 years of persecution, 4 years of inflation, poverty, incompetence, 4 years of betrayal, 4 years of wide open, undefended, unprotected, open borders. Miller later added, accountability is coming. The whole federal bureaucracy is about to learn that they don't work for themselves, they work for you. They work for President Trump, and they work for the American people. We are about to get our country back and our democracy back. Miller, who worked under Trump during his first term, has a senior. He worked there as a senior advisor for policy and White House director of speech writing. Well, he will soon head back to the White House as deputy chief of staff and to advise Trump on homeland security issues. The longtime Trump loyalist has focused on cracking down on illegal immigration and spoke repeatedly on Sunday about Trump's goal to secure the southern border after record border crossings reported under the Biden administration, of course. And of course, Joe Biden said, that he had stopped all that. Of course, we know he was delusional. The incoming deputy chief of staff also rehashed the left's attempts to derail Trump's 2024 campaign, along with numerous court battles the president-elect faced and attempted, of course, the attempts on his life as well. Quote, the Democratic Party and the radical left did everything in their power to try to put President Trump in jail. They lied about him. They framed him. They smeared him. They defamed him. And Miller said that they indicted him. They tried to imprison him and to take away his freedom, to take away his family, to take away his business, to take away your voice, your future, to take away your hopes, your dreams, your government, your country. And Donald Trump nearly lost his life on a stage in Butler, Pennsylvania, and then again a few weeks later. He continued on by saying, no matter what they threw at him, no matter the danger, no matter the horrors, no matter the abuse, no matter the corruption, no matter the persecution, no matter how much the broken children tried to stop that man, he would not be stopped because he has always been fighting for you. So, like I say, a lot of positivity, a lot of good things coming out of Washington D.C. In fact, Lindsey Graham even spoke up. Senator Lindsey Graham, he's the Republican from South Carolina. He said over the weekend that President-elect Donald Trump plans to implement a $100 billion agenda to secure the U.S. border and deport illegal aliens in the United States. Graham made the remarks during a Sunday interview on CBS's Face the Nation, and he spoke about the Trump agenda, the border agenda. He said, well, Brennan asked, do you have a top line number yet on how much this is all going to cost? And he said, yes, $100 billion for border security through reconciliation would be enough to hire ICE agents, create new detention beds, and finish the wall and put technology in place over 4 years. And here's a quote as well. He says, 200 billion will be given to the military to make it more capable of deterring China, 100 billion for border, and 200 billion for the military. Quote, I met with Mike Johnson yesterday, and he said that he has a political problem in the House. He wants to do one big, beautiful bill, and I've never been more worried about an attack on our homeland than I am now with the rise of ISIS in Afghanistan and wars all over the world. I think the number one priority for the Republican Party should be to secure the border. He says you need new money to do it, and if we don't, we're playing Russian roulette with our own national security. He also said that you need to secure the border like our life depends on it. And again, that probably ushered Trump into the White House, as it was a big deal that a lot of people understand just how big it is. And of course, the two candidates, Kamala and Trump, couldn't have been any different on that, with Kamala obviously showing her incompetence as she was border czar. But the Biden administration has not played nice. Let's just put it that way. The Biden administration is really trying their very best to sabotage what Trump wants to do. They have made multiple last-minute moves that could make the Department of Homeland Security more expensive to operate and cause the funds allocated to the department to secure the border to be less effective. On January 17th, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, we'll be glad when he's out of office, right? Wrote to all employees that he was giving them 3 days of additional vacation time to be used in 2025 in memory of him. Yeah, they get 3 additional days of vacation in memory of him. Oh, quote, it has been the honor of my life to support you and to work alongside you. In recognition of your extraordinary talent, dedication, and sacrifice, I am proud, this one last time, to grant all personnel 24 hours of administrative leave to be used this calendar year. And this is what he wrote in a memo to his staff obtained by the Daily Wire. He says, please take care of one another. The head of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, meanwhile, sent employees a message saying 2 career employees will lead the agency until a Trump appointee is confirmed. She signed the message, URM Jado, her director. DHS employees were also given an extra day off for Christmas Eve and the former President Jimmy Carter's death, because simply not having law enforcement operate is not an option. This often means that the agency must pay for expensive and budgeted overtime just to have the coverage they were expected to have. The change that could have significant impacts on the agency's budget had to do with allowing employees to obtain significant pay raises through tenure rather than merit. The agency has historically had one immigration service officer job. It's called the ISO 1. And that handled simpler cases and was lower paid, starting with GS5 pay rank and allowing employees to climb to GS9. A second group of employees, the ISO 2s, had to pass a test to get the job and handle complex cases, and they were paid between the GS9 and GS12 pay. But in the recent weeks, the USCIS said it would combine them into one job, meaning all of its low-paid agents could climb all the way up to GS-12 pay simply by staying in their jobs. That gives the agency less of the ability to control its budget, and also means that the agents handling complex immigration cases could be less qualified, of course. And so, yeah, they're trying to do everything they can to sabotage what is happening. But I have confidence that we're going to see a lot of good things happen. A lot of this stuff is just going to be overturned anyway. And I'm sure a lot of it will go to court and whatnot. But we're seeing them heading in the right direction. I think. I would love to hear what you think of it. And of course, you can always do that at uncommonsensepodcast.com. With the new year, we also have some new changes here on the podcast, and we're going to be on YouTube. And so you might pick us up there. We'll give you some more details on that here in the very near future. But again, thank you for listening. This podcast is a production of Morganite Communications.